turned your call because I'm going call to call today. So it's been
Goodness
great.
gracious. No, we'll keep you if he calls in. We'll add him. Ladies and gentlemen, we are live at the moment. It's as far as I can tell. So I'm just going to break the news. We have got ourselves a new pope, the very first American pope in history. And it looks like, I believe the fellow was named Malachi or Malik something, has predicted the last 112 popes absolutely correctly. He did it over a century ago. He began that process, and it looks like he may have gotten this one wrong, which is good news for Catholics and perhaps the rest of us, as this same fellow predicted that this 112th pope or 13th pope would be the very last pope before the end of the world. So looks like maybe we've got a bit of a break, Sam. All right. So,
yeah. Well, first of all, who is the Pope?
It is Cardinal Robert somebody. He's American.
Oh.
Is he the guy out of like Jersey or New York?
Gosh, I don't know.
I don't know. Well, we'll have to chat GPT that one.
Yeah, I'll chat later on.
I'm no Nostradamus. I couldn't figure that out beforehand.
Oh my gosh. Well, I got a dog like at my right here, so I'm kind of concerned it's gonna like come down on me and like take half my shoulder off or whatever.
I know, yeah.
Yeah, he's more than howling. He
is howling.
Wow. I've got my eyes over here, just so you know, on the sidebar of the actual program. And so far, it hasn't kicked in.
It has for me. It's streaming on LinkedIn. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm trying to find you on LinkedIn too. How do I do that? Just put like Peter on there or something, or?
I don't know, but I will tell you that whether or not we're happening there. Let me just double click here. And
you're happening. I'm fine. I just found you. You're happening.
Yeah, we're all happening now.
Oh, yeah.
So for anybody that happens to pop in, I've got Iggy Pop go for the throat.
Say that again.
You're trying to find me on LinkedIn?
No, you're there, man.
Oh,
okay. I see Ulta, Alexandra Crawl, Chris Overlay.
Yeah.
So hey guys.
Uta is weighing in, as I had asked before about the question if you could find the lyrics in the post. But Uta's gone for it, and unfortunately today, Uta, it is not correct. Not Iggy Pop. Far more mainstream, but perhaps just a little bit less. I don't know. It's not Iggy Pop. I know that, but God bless him. I love Iggy Pop. And Chris Overlay's in the house. It does look like a rad convo. And I think it will be, because we've got a special guest today. We're going to be talking about what sales teams actually need from your brand to sell like hell. Okay. And there's a few things, obviously, there's more than a few things that we're going to cover here. But first, we've got Samuel, the beverage man Anderson. Sam, welcome.
Yeah, thank you, guys. Glad to be here. I almost didn't show up. I was in the wrong room. So thanks for getting me in the right room today.
I sent you to the wrong room. Then it was just, as per usual.
I know I upset you, but then Jeff rescued me and got me in the right room. So thanks. But glad to be here. Glad to talk about selling. It's sometimes it's a bad word in many circles. So I'm glad that it's a great word in this circle, because you don't make any money unless you sell something and someone buys something, and no one can buy anything unless the people selling it know what to sell and how to sell it and what they're selling.
That's right. That's right.
That's right. And the other thing I would add too is, like, if you want to get, a big discussion started amongst, business people, just talk about the relationship of sales and marketing, and there'll be like a big hoopla. They'll be like, whoa.
Well, full transparency. Before I got into marketing, I grew up in the sales side of the business, but I did do a stint in marketing a couple of times. And for the longest time, I thought marketing doesn't do anything. I got news for you. If you don't have marketing, you don't have sales. If you don't have sales, you don't have marketing. So they both have to work together. And there's different types of sales and there's different types of marketing.
Right.
Obviously I'm not here. You guys are the marketers. I'm not here to talk to you about the 4 Ps today, but they do exist and they are real.
Well, then nobody talks about the 5th, 6th, and 7th P.
Oh.
But I'm not talking about that today either. We're going to talk a little bit more in depth about getting your CPG product into stores, hotels, high traffic venues. And of course, this isn't just about making a good product. You got to make a good product.
Hey, I'm going off script a little bit, but I haven't. So I literally was like, Heather Ransom?
Yeah.
Yeah, we just talked to her.
On your show or something? Or
no, we just had a chat with her.
Oh, okay.
Awesome.
I was like, I saw this post. I'm trying to keep up with Jeff's post, everybody. He does like 15 posts a day. And so I've literally hired AI bot just to follow Jeff.
Right. He's a postaholic. But how do Sam, we're going to get into the whole bit about what people realize, don't realize. Maybe if a brand looks unfinished, if it sounds confusing, or it comes across like a weekend DIY project, because I see a lot of that. And I get it. We're all working with limited funds. We work with what we have. That's one of the favorite things I think we do at Brandartica is a lot of times we make things out of what we have, out of what you have, out of what we can do within a budget to make it spectacular. There's no reason why, as I always say, $1 million ideas don't cost $1 million to come up with, but they can cost money to execute. But you work with what you have. And one of the first things I think we should dive into as a breakdown is clear positioning. And Sam, let's get a take from you on what kind of things, why this, why now? Those are usually, to me, the first 2 questions in the first 10 seconds that people are thinking about your brand. Would you agree, concur? Are there other things I'm missing?
What's in it for me? What's in it for me? Again, I'll say it again. What's in it for me? That's what they want to know.
Right.
So when you're calling on that buyer or the potential client or whatever, you need to tell them what's in it for them.
Yeah, absolutely. Jeff, thoughts on that part of it?
Yeah, I was going to say in terms of that too, it's like, that could be many different things, right? So it's not just price, right? And things like that, but it could be, that there's all this activity maybe on social that would interest people to order this product. There's also, there's ways, that you can deliver the message to the customers from within the business so that it makes it easy for them. So there's a lot of different ways, like what's in it for me, I think would cover even some of the things that we're going to talk about next.
Right.
Yeah. I would just say, the things you touched on, you need to have that in your arsenal or your tool chest to go out and actually, depending on what that customer's looking for. But I would even go back a step further and actually do your homework on the customer. So we call it the buyer pyramid. And within that pyramid is like, how are they measured? What's important to them? Where is it that they work? What is the company about? Knowing those things. And then you go back, okay, something within those things within that pyramid are going to hit the things you talked about, Jeff. But you got to know your customer, because if you know your customer, that's going to inform your approach with that customer, because you're going to know what's in it for them. Yeah. You're going to know what they're looking for. You might be talking to a customer, he's talking all about inventory. Like he's measured on inventory, he's bonus inventory, or she's bonus inventory. If that's the case, how can you help solve that problem?
Right. And Sam, for anybody that's not quite, I don't know of anybody that doesn't know you. But
that's not true. Right. I mean, I'm with the Brandartica folks. Are you kidding me? You guys are superstars.
Tell people a little bit about where you come into the journey about, getting a product onto a shelf or into a store or into a venue. So
you want to talk about me or my journey, or
let's hear a little bit about you and Bev Asset, and because you're at a particular stage of the journey, which I think is really critical.
Yeah, so it's we're the last mile,
right?
That's critical. So, at the end of the day, you've gone through your formulation, your package design, you've talked to Peter and Jeff, and they've told you that your baby's either beautiful or your baby's ugly, and they help you with that. I got that from you, Peter.
Well,
but at some point, you're going to arrive to someone like me and my partner, Alicia Vargo. Hello, Alicia, if you're out there.
Hi, Alicia.
Call out to you. But we help brands find distribution and customers. If you don't have a distributor or a broker or a customer, you're not going to create revenue in the door. So that's important, right? But and I think people get that, but oftentimes when they arrive at our door, they've spent all their money over here, and then they're trying to negotiate with us down here, and we're the most important mile. If you don't get past the gatekeepers, and I like to call gatekeepers, in my business, I'm mostly in the alcohol beverage business. We do some functional spirit brands, NA brands, but one of the gatekeepers is the distributor. If you can't get the distributor to take you in, you're never going to reach the customer. And that's the second gatekeeper. You can't get back. And if they don't take you, the place you're going is the consumer, right?
Right.
And there's different paths how we can utilize your marketing actually to get the consumer and kind of reverse engineer that, by the way. There's different things to do it. But I don't know if that answers your question. We've been doing Bev Assets is a global agency. We work across multiple people. We have 50 plus sales agents across North America, 30 partnership companies that we work with. We're partners with diverse power brands. Hello, Deborah Brenner, if you're out there, and Mark Harmon and Larry McGinn from IMI. But we have a partnership with Brandartica,
right?
Quite frankly. So if you come to us, we do two things. We find distribution, we find customers, but a supplier or a brand needs more than just finding a distributor and customer.
Right.
And there's more to selling than just finding a distributor and customer, obviously.
And that brings us back to sort of that part where, you're in product development, into flavor, into taste, and, all the logistics, the stuff that goes over my head. But like after that, you packaging that sells. You need packaging that sells. People buy with their eyes. And again, as I said before, if it's a do-it-yourself job, I always say that the packaging, the label, everything, the website, everything, the copy, it leads us to what the experience is inside said can, bottle, box, bag. And if the outside looks like shit, then I as a buyer, I'm going to assume that the inside is probably shitty too. Now that said, I've seen people go the other way, where you buy a product and you go, looks amazing. I want it. You open it up, you pour it in your mouth, and you wish you hadn't. Jeff, what do you think about shoppers, packaging? How far away should someone really, you want your packaging to stick out, Jeff, right? When you're in a store and you look at a sea of shelves, what do you see?
Is this the ugly baby story you're about to tell, Jeff?
No, I'm not going to call anyone out. No, but here's the thing. So that we all know the push-pull thing, right? So the pull thing is like, I'm part of this community online. I'm part of the social community, maybe on Instagram, let's say.
Yeah.
And I'm already recognizing the product. I'm seeing other people like it. I go into the store and I just go buy it, right? So that's pull. But the push part is the hard one, right? So nobody knows, let's say nobody knows you. Or let's just say an individual doesn't know you and they walk into a store and they have this, all these choices in front of them. How are you going to stand out? Number one, how are you going to get that first second, maybe if it's even less than a second, to even look at your particular product? And then when they look at it and they hold it in their hand, what's the experience going to be like when they start reading it? And
right. Well, first of all, it starts with marketing out there in the virtual world, where hopefully from across social channels, you actually are talking to those consumers and creating a familiarity around your brand, right?
Yes. Right.
We all spend time on LinkedIn. We're selling our brand, right? So you're on LinkedIn, you become familiar, become trusted, right? And then you show up on the shelf, with Even's been out there. People actually see it. But then how do you actually, from a sales standpoint, what do? We try to create, like in retail, we try to create as a tag or a feature, a display or a shelf position. Because if you're on the bottom shelf versus on your eye level, change, right?
Yeah, of course.
So those are the tactics as in selling, as you're working with that retail buyer. You want to get a shelf position, you want to get a display, you want to put maybe a little shelf talk on it, talk about your brand. Those little mechanics are so important in the details, because when that consumer, to your point, you're going to get them for a fraction of a second. You've called them on social media. Now they see that tag, they're going to stop and they're going to purchase your brand. And by the way, the retailer or that decision maker, gatekeeper wants to know that. What are you going to do to build that brand inside my four walls?
Exactly.
That's right. You know, our friend Michael Colangelo, nice Irish kid. He asked a great question. It's how can brand vision inform product development? He's a product taste guy. He's a development guy. He's awesome. Spoke to him the other day.
Oh, you did, Michael.
Yeah.
Hey, man, just good. I'm glad you reached out to those guys.
Yeah. So, what do you guys think about brand vision informing product development, or is that swapperoo? Does it?
I don't know, Jeff. You want to go? I can go. It's up to you.
Well, yeah, in terms of like, brand vision, right? So like who's your people? Okay. So, I think about it like that. Like, so if you're a better for you type product, like, who your people are, right? If you're making a product that's, kind of fun, the liquid death route or whatever, and you're looking for that kind of like party thing, who your people are. And so
shouldn't have said liquid death. We should say Freebird.
Okay, Freebird. I'm sorry, Jay.
Podcast.
But you get what I mean. Like the brand vision is that here's the thing, and we talk about this a lot, and we even talked offline, Sam, about this. Is like, I need a sell sheet. Well, do you need it for the end user, or you need it for the dealer?
Yeah, know your audience, right?
I need it for both, and you're like, no, I can't do that. Because it doesn't speak to them in the same way. And I think when people make they have their brand vision, they don't need to please everybody. They don't have to be Coca-Cola, right? It's important to have an idea of who your audience is, who's really your target. And that has to happen, and that helps you actually develop the product that you want to deliver to them.
Right.
No, I 100%. I'm a destination guy. So it's vision, destination. So if you don't know where you're going, you're not going to know how to get there, right? And your destination is going to inform your mission. So once you know your destination or your target or the consumer you're going for, you're going to have a mission you have to put together to go reach that consumer you're going after. And then from there, you lay out your strategies, objectives, goals, strategies, measures, right? And then you do your what's and your how's. It's not, so many people overthink this space. It's not that difficult. Now, I've been doing it for 40 years, but if you're clear on that destination, your point, Jeff, and you know that audience, don't overcomplicate it.
Mm-hmm. Right. Don't make it so generic that it just becomes part of the sea of noise that's out there, right? Try to stand out, because in the end, even if you're only targeting one audience, it may catch on to others, and you discover them later.
Yeah, I was going to mention also, as we run through this, part of a brand's journey is going to be those sell sheets that, everybody ultimately has.
I love sell sheets, you know that.
Well, when we talked about this the other day, which is fabulous the way you put it, sometimes, I mean,
I'm going to go find a sell sheet.
We've all seen a sell sheet. I've Googled sell sheets. The first time I ever had to do sell sheets was for a company. And you know what? What do you got there?
This is a sell sheet.
Oh, it's a sell sheet.
Nice. I mean,
it's a lead behind.
That's today, you're doing it right. It's today. I remember the first sell sheets I worked on. I was like, these are a cluster F. And I was seeing them and I was like, dude, who reads this? And I understood, that this is going out to distributors and beverage buyers, and, they need to know about it quickly and easily. But the sell sheets I started working on were anything but. And when we redesigned the sell sheets for Woodstock Inn Brewery, it was we decided to make them a keeper. So we made them a slightly different size. We had them printed on a heavier cardstock with a really nice glossy image and full color on one side. Yeah, baby. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Flip it over. And where's your information? There's your information. Tommy boy. So, I mean, and you were saying this is
we didn't rehearse this, by the way. This is all
I know. What is that? You were saying you kind of also need to think about your audience and make your sell sheets, know who you're talking to, know who you're right. You want to elaborate on that a little bit, Sam?
Oh, well, first of all, when we have a supplier arrive at our door, they'll send us the 50-page deck and they'll call that a sell sheet. And what's brilliant about Alicia, she's like, hey, man, listen, stop. I'm going to send you some examples of what we're looking for. We just want like 4 or 5 bullet points. Tell to your point, Jeff and Peter, what's your destination? What do you stand for? Who's your target? The whole bit, right? But just give us 4 bullet points. I equate it to I'll break it down into really 4 different buckets. It's the situation.
Yep.
Okay. How it works, key benefits, and next steps. Again, the situation, how it works, key benefits, and next steps. Don't overthink it. I have to quote Courtney O'Brien if she happens to catch this. I'm not sure if you've had her on your podcast, but she was absolutely brilliant a few months ago. We were talking on Drink Up podcast, which you both have attended. So thank you very much for your gracious time to join us. But she said the most powerful thing. Do you know what she said?
No, tell us.
Can the distributor repeat your message?
Right.
Shut up. Yes.
Right.
It's the most brilliant thing because we put together these sales decks and these whole things, but if they can't repeat your message is never going to get out. Because the reality is you have to rely on other people to get past those gatekeepers, the distributor, the retailer or the on-premise operator, the bartender or the mixologist or whomever, that you're targeting, whatever business you're in. But if they can't repeat it, if the salesman can't repeat it, then that beverage director can't repeat it, and that bartender and so on and so forth can't repeat it. It's the most important thing. So just don't overcomplicate it.
It is. I've gone into a client meeting one time. We were meeting up in Maine and Kittery in one of the outlets. Right. What's that outlet, Jeff? The one with the mustard and the jams and the whatnot.
Oh, yeah. Like a Harry and David?
No. Oh. It's the quintessential. Where are you, Harry? Who's Harry and David?
They had a store up there.
The quintessential, like, stone ground.
Whatever. Oh, Stonewall Kitchen.
Stonewall Kitchen. We sat in Stonewall Kitchen, had a coffee. I was trying to explain what you were just talking about to this potential client. And I said, watch this. I'm going to show you something. I said, this is what I'm talking about. And I said, the waiter came over to take our coffee order or whatever. I said, great, man. But let me ask you a question. Stone ground what is it? Stonewall Kitchen.
Stonewall
Kitchen. What is it really? What's the brand? What is it? What are you? And he gave me this like roundabout answer, blah, 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 blah. And I said, okay, cool. Thanks. And then I went over and I talked to the girl at the cashier and I said, can you tell me Stone Ground Kitchen? What's the brand blurb? What's the elevator pitch here?
Right.
And she told me a completely different story and was kind of like, I don't really know. Who are you? Why are you asking me this? And then I asked for the manager and I said, dude, can you tell me that? And he was like, gave me this other. And I went back and I said to the guy, did you see what just happened here? All these people, they have no idea what this is. They all work here. But none of them have a cohesive story. So that's part of the storytelling bit. And when you were talking about, just real quick, I'll show you when I was talking about, let's see if we can do the whole screen here because I can't find anything. Sell sheets, like this was the sell sheet we reinvented for these guys. This is a 16-ounce tall boy double pig's ear brown ale. The big story here was like, what's your beer all about? Well, we're made with 100% more New Hampshire. What the fuck does that mean? But it's a conversation piece, right? And then you flip it over and you give the distributor the whole. It's something to chuckle at. You're awesome at life. This is a rich, smooth double brown ale that proves it. And then these guys didn't have much information to share, but bang, 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 simple, easy peasy. And to me, that's a keeper. That you hold on to stuff like that. And you don't want to fall to the bottom of the pile. And what you showed us too, Sam, is a perfect example.
Just something really simple, but just make sure you give those nuggets to the reps. They're going to take 1 or 2 things. We used to do GSMs. I worked in wholesale for 10 years. And we have these GSMs, and it was the reps would come in and the suppliers would come across the stage. And guess what happened?
I don't know.
The reps would fall asleep. They wanted to get the heck out of that room. The suppliers were long-winded. They didn't care. They're like, I need to get out to my route to go sell something.
Right.
The best GSMs we did after COVID was the walkarounds. we did walk arounds where you could actually, rather than doing an all day GSM, each supplier would get like an area and they would be able to sample and taste their product and actually interact. And people had the ability to walk around from table to table, and we timed it, by the way. So you only had 5 minutes, not 45 minutes on the stage talking about what region your brand came from, or how your beer was brewed, or what your mash bill was for your whiskey. No one cares.
Right. No, but it's like a round robin type of thing where you could hit everybody all, and get some attention instead of
the best GSMs or no GSMs. The best is a round robin to taste and communicate, have that one-on-one with your rep.
Yes.
The people are selling stuff, develop a relationship, because at the end of the day, I'd be remiss. I mean, it's not all about facts and figures and what is, and for me, it's also about relationships. These reps have those gatekeeper relationships.
Big time. Yeah.
And you nailed it. It's definitely, it's all about that. And it comes back to that part when we talk about a story that's repeatable, a story that's digestible, a story that means something to people. And part of that is marketing. Sometimes people get confused and they want to tell their authentic truth. And sometimes I go, look, good, your authentic truth should be part of this, but nobody's got time to sit there and maybe listen to I was born in 1969 in a bayou.
Wait a minute. That's not a bad year.
It's not a bad year.
I was born in 1969. It is the year. What are you talking about?
The summer of
68 was better.
All right.
January of 69.
Yeah. Okay.
The world stopped and took notice. Were you in the summer? Because I recall there was some kind of disruption. And then did you enter onto
I was
planet
a few
Earth?
years before you. I was 65. So I'm the end of the baby boomers. People talk about like Gen Z and stuff like that. They never mention the baby boomers. I'm like, hey guys, I'm the last of the baby boomers.
No, my goodness.
Yes.
Oh, my goodness. So that is also, again, something you talked about earlier, social proof. Do people have a buzz? Are people engaging on your social media? Can you prove it? Are you growing or ghosting your own brand? I see so many people that fail at this. And the problem I would tell you is that to have a successful social media platform and engagement and a community that grows is you've got to be consistent, you've got to be relevant, and you got to be on it a lot. And when you DIY that, look, if you're the founder, the owner, you've got a lot of other shit you should be doing.
Right.
Let someone else handle it. And the other thing, and then I'll let you guys go on this, is remember, you don't have to be perfect. And when you spend, 3 weeks internally reviewing 10 posts to make sure they're just right, you just lost 3 fucking weeks of audience engagement.
The most viral posts are, don't you?
A hoo-ha?
The ones with the misspellings, the ones that are authentic, the ones that are real.
Right.
I mean, at the end of the day, look, I love AI, so I'm not trashing AI. I love ChatGPT and Perplexity, all of it. Drives Alicia crazy. But the one thing you got to show up as you.
That's right.
That's what I love about this podcast is we're live, raw, and real. I mean, if you're not showing up as you and you're trying to get someone to show up as you, people want to talk to the founder. Founder needs to obviously use their resources, hence that's why I use the AI and stuff. But people want to hear the founder's story. We always ask the founder, Alicia and I, hey, are you willing to get in the market and support your brand?
Yep.
If you're not, you're going to have a tough time, because what's going to help sell your brand is the founder needs to go work the market.
Yeah. And I don't want to confuse like having a founder. There's lots of founders on LinkedIn and they should be there. But a lot of times what they're doing is they're sharing their personal branding, right? Yeah. So they're not doing selling and things like that, or sometimes they don't even mention for weeks their brand.
I don't think you have to sell anything on LinkedIn or any social media. Just talk about yourself. People want to do business with people and people they like.
Yeah, and I think that the only difference is in terms of what we're saying in terms of having the social proof is that community managers do a really good job on social media platforms. And they represent the brand right there. So they're the voice of the brand. It's not the founder. It's when the founder chimes in, it's additional. And this happens on LinkedIn all the time. A founder will respond to something maybe I did a little review thing, and then the brand will respond, right?
Yeah.
So those are two different things. And where I want to kind of bring this up too, because we talked about this recently, is that the founder story is super important, but it doesn't necessarily have to be the brand story.
Oh, we have Bev Assets. Bev Assets is our brand.
Mhm.
Alicia and I happen to be co-founders of Bev Assets, but we want Bev Assets that's the place we want people to go.
Yes.
Mhm.
Right. And
Right.
so if we build that brand, obviously we need some branding expertise, the two of you, but we want to build that out. Right. At the end of the day, when we're long said and gone, we want our baby,
It'll still be there.
Just to grow and to
Right.
help other people. Because at some point, Alicia and I won't be involved in the business.
Right.
It's just the way it is.
Right.
But we hope that Bev Assets would continue to grow.
You know what's interesting about the partnership between Brandartica and Bev Assets is if you abbrev them both, and that's short for abbreviation for those of you who don't know. And I have to hand in my man card after this for even using that phrase. So BA and BA, which is an interesting correlation. Or, unfortunately, I was going to say, if we go with BA, you have to go with Bevass, and I don't think that's going to work. So
it's okay. We have some interesting brands that we work with that uses that word, by the way, but I can't say the brand, but you can guess it now.
I've got a bit of a long question from one of my new pals, Kirsten Sokolovsky. I'm butchering it.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
Kirsten S. Okay, we're going to go with that. A bit of a long question here, and she would like to know, let's see. She'd like some advice. She's helping out a company with a marketing strategy. It doesn't have many case studies, though it has enough clients and good results. Its sales team is reluctant for me to create client content, interviews, what have you. Why are they doing that? Why would they do that? As they're protective of the relationship. Okay, so we get that too. How can she convince them that there's value in these case studies and client profile pieces? And how can she convince them to get the F out of the way?
Get the F out of the way. That's right.
If I'm being a sales guy, if someone like that arrived at my home to talk to me, I would probably do the same thing they do, but you need to tell me how you're going to help me sell more cases, more of my product, more of my services. So you give me a use case that you've done, that you've helped actually put more dollars in my bag. Then I'm going to happy take you over to my customers and bring you along. And then my customers are going to do it. So if you can help us sell more and make more, David Locke, sell more and make more.
Go ahead.
No.
I was going to say, I was going to take everyone back. So in the beginning, the earth was formed. No, in the beginning, like of Amazon, one of the things that the people were talking about is like, how do we get, they actually developed like the first like review system, right? And the purpose of it, the whole purpose of it, which actually is the same purpose as a case study, is that it's someone else talking for the brand, talking for the product. It's someone who's used the product, and it's not a paid type of review, right? Because we all know there's always paid reviews out there in the wild of the internet, right? There's a lot of things that are staged and somebody's paid money and they've done a review and everything's nice and rosy, right? But that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, so Amazon said, we're going to let the people provide the feedback, and it is what it is. And you know what? And that's good, because it's, if you're in the right place as a founder, you're going to go, you're going to go with what people are saying about your product, and maybe you make changes, but the point is if someone else is giving you the the good reviews, it stands higher for the person that's you're trying to sell to.
I have a challenge for the two of you. You know what I'm going to say, I bet.
Okay.
All right. And this is not an advertisement. I really want you to do this. On this podcast, I want you to ask a question using Vidlo.
Okay.
And ask people feedback. What did you learn from this podcast? What would you have done?
Yeah.
Okay. and then have and post it out there. So put a link to this podcast, because I'm sure if it's live, you can set a link to the live podcast or whatever, and get the feedback. Because guess what? You're going to hear from your customers.
Yeah.
Your people come here every week when you do this podcast, and get the feedback. I experimented a little bit of it. You two did not show up last week, calling you out. But anyway, but you did communicate, Peter.
I did.
Yes, you did. But anyway, so my point is that's an app.
Failed you.
And I know that I hope I answer a question. Just bring the use case though of the things you've done in the past, but don't be scared to ask.
And just one last thing for Kirsten too. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Sorry,
yeah.
Kirsten.
There's other ways in terms of trying to get movement like with something like this with the sales team. And maybe you could there's creative ways, like you can even gamify it, right? Gamification thing. You could actually say, maybe there's a way for someone, if the more case studies they get some sort of perk or something, and make it into a contest.
So gamify it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say the other thing that's like kind of the obvious thing, but I think a lot of times we forget to do it, and we've done it, Jeff, and it almost always bites you in the ass. You've got to get the buy-in from the top down, and then there's got to be some clear communication that if we're going to be making recommendations that your team needs to follow in order to succeed, if they're putting up a fight or resisting or not wanting to do it, it's really not their place to do so. So when the boss, the CEO or the founder, whoever signs the check, has decided you're coming in to consult them on this, that, and the other thing, you have got to just go back to them and say, look, we've talked about this in the beginning and I need to buy in from the team. Otherwise, none of this works. You're burning money. So sometimes a founder or CEO has to go back into his own team internally and, spank a few wrists, or just give them a gentle reminder that this person's here to help us and they're here for a reason. If you guys were picture perfect, doing everything that needed to be done, they wouldn't be here. But it's just, we need the extra help, and that's why I brought them in. So do what she's asking. And we find out with when we do a rebrand for someone, we've done that, Jeff, a couple of times, where you find out well after the whole thing's been designed and paid for, that the guys in the back room don't really like it.
Well, sometimes you have to have mandates. I mean, I was vice president of commercial excellence at Breakthrough, my last job there, and we would roll out with a new initiative, and no one wanted to do anything. So you had change managers. Change management is a thing, by the way. People have a career out of it. So at the end of the day, there you go, bro. Just pick up the phone, man. You threw me off. That's good. Perfect timing.
You do that to me all the time, Sam, on your.
That's right. I've been doing that a lot lately, but just there's change management is just really, really important. You guys are definitely throwing me off today. This is good.
That's all right. And of course, Robert is in an Uber on his way to the Denver airport.
Oh, I have to bring Robert up.
He never.
Oh my gosh.
He never sits still.
He doesn't sit still. He's
Robert, I love you, man. I mean, I've had
boy, Mr. and Mrs. Kogan boy, never sits.
I think I can say this, Robert. You can chime in, but he loves to talk.
So, oh yeah,
Robert the talker, man, and I love it because he brings some brilliant stuff up. But I mean, if you want to get into Canada, Robert's the man.
He's the guy.
Yeah. So sales enablement tools, Sam, what are you thinking here? Samples, leave behinds, whatnot?
Well, most important thing in our industry is liquid to lips. So sample, you got to taste people in the product, right?
Yes.
If they don't know what it tastes like, it's really hard to sell. So we always say liquid to lips, and then I'll leave it behind. Like we like to use like stickers, pens, anything that people can do something with it. Wearables are really good if a brand can afford it, but you don't have to break the bank. Even a shelf talker, a pen. Think about if you're like a waiter or waitress, what are the things they go through? They go through a lot of pens, even like an apron or something for a bar, a bar manager, whatever. Little things like that go a long way. And then your reps, the wearables are more for the reps. So you have your hat on.
Not pocket protectors though. You think those would work good, or
Possibly anything. I mean, it depends who your audience is in terms of what
Do
you
they
wanna
still make those pocket protectors?
Yeah, and I think an element too is how do you make the sales rep's job easy?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, we spend a lot of time on this because over my purview, I had capabilities and sales systems. So we look at systems to make sales reps' life easy.
Right.
So if they can get through their day in the most efficient way possible, then give them that tool, whatever that tool is. I do work for a company called Pinata. Pinata it helps. It's a SaaS company. It actually eliminates the chaos from spreadsheets, emails, text messaging, and phone calls. If I don't have to take an email, a text message, a phone call, and put something on the spreadsheet, bring me the technology as a sales rep. I'm going to use it. Trust me.
A couple of things to keep in mind. What doesn't work here is the, well, we're just getting started. Nobody wants to hear it. Nobody gives a shit. Generic, you mentioned it earlier, generic founder stories. There's no hook. There's no nothing. It's just a laundry list of your life across the past several decades. Again, is that relevant? Is there a way to consolidate that and find really the highlights? Copycat branding, we just saw some of those, the worst ones I've ever seen in my life. And again, I won't call anybody out, but I was like, dude, you're sitting on the shelf next to somebody else that's already done this. How can you not know that?
I know, it's weird.
Ugly, confusing packaging. That's where
the ugly baby.
That's where I come in. No, and it's interesting because you do have to have sort of an eye for that and understand, like we had spoke about earlier, is that, when you don't just design packaging or design work in a vacuum. You have to know who your audience is. And I said it before, we were talking about shampoos. I'm a 40-plus-year-old man. I can't read the shampoo or the conditioner on the bottle without my glasses on. What the holy hell?
Who you should talk to?
Yeah, who? Prel?
No. Well, no, not about the shampoo. I'm listening about the shampoo, but I have some after the podcast. I can give you some ideas, but you should talk to Andy Poe. I'll introduce you to Andy.
Okay.
Andy has a company called Tastemakers. She goes out in the wild, and she actually talks to the consumer for CPG brands.
Love that.
And she gets feedback.
Love
that. She's all over California.
Right.
You should have her on this podcast. You should talk to Andy. She's absolutely brilliant, and she gets that information back. She aggregates it and it gives it back to the. Either they taste it, they look at the packaging, but they get feedback from the consumer before they go down this path and spending hundreds of thousands of dollars. And they arrive in Peter's office, and Peter says, "I hate to tell you this, but your baby's ugly."
Get that baby out of here. Does anybody have? We've had a few good questions here. Jeff, you want to keep
no, the only thing I was going to say, like, just to bring it back to the, what doesn't work type of thing, and then my comment about sales and marketing, like if you want to start a hoopla, start that conversation. But I have to tell you, and I worked for a company for several decades where the sales and marketing were like this, and it was like a machine. It was such a great environment because marketing was included in the sales meetings. We knew all the sales guys, we're by name. We broke bread with them. And with that relationship between sales and marketing, we would ask the sales guy, "What do you need?" And they say, "I have a problem. I need this thing. I don't know how to put this together myself. I'm in Pennsylvania. You're in Massachusetts." We would generate it out for them, send it off. He'd print it locally, and he'd have what he needed. And so when sales and marketing works as a team, it's unstoppable. It really is a good way to look at your business.
Absolutely, Jeff. And I mean, we see that a lot. And it's funny. Sometimes, you have experiences where people are like, they'll talk to the marketing team and say, sales are down. Marketing, you talk to the sales team because sales are down. Marketing sucks, then talk to the marketing team. But like you said, a marketing team and a sales team that are lockstep together. They're providing each other the information, the data, and the inspiration to go forward, to grow. I love that. I mean, that was the best thing I ever did in the past, was really learn how to talk salesperson. and understand what they're up against and going through, and try to offer, as a creative team, you try to offer them solutions and different tools that might help them along the way, even if they're simple things. I mean, how many times have I left people wacko voicemails because I go, look, you're not going to answer my email, you're not going to do this, I'm trying to make a sale, if you will, right? And then I leave this bizarro world, voiceover on their email, on their voicemail or in LinkedIn. And what do I get? I get a call back immediately, and either a cease and desist, but usually just a call back.
If I can take a marketer out with me in the wild, I'll do it every day, every single day. The best, and I don't know if this guy's on planet Earth anymore, but his name was Rick O'Connor. And Rick O'Connor was the brand manager for a brand called Thank God It's Fridays. And this was like in the, I guess, late 90s, I guess. And he went out in the wild with me. I think it was down in, I don't know where I was. I've lived all over the country, but I think I might have been in Miami at the time, and we were rolling it out. So Ready to Drink, by the way, it's not new. It's been around a long time. It's been reinvented every other year or repositioned. But I brought the brand marketer out with me in the wild. And boy, talk about, one is he learned, but two, he taught me. And three is he helped me close deals with the gatekeepers. Because he could talk about the brand positioning, the brand identity. He could talk about those four things we talked about really clearly in terms of the who, what, when, where, why. Who, what, when, where, why, right? So if you think about USA Today headline, you can know everything in that headline, who, what, when, where, why. Those marketers, they can do that really quick. Now, those marketers need to take that message and give us salespeople that message.
Right. And again, I come from a world where we were, the marketing department was the trainers for sales training. Okay. And so we would train not only our inside sales team, but we would train outside sales teams for like our bigger dealer that had multiple locations and things. They would come to us and we give them the full training. And then they would send us out to the field to help them merchandise. Right. So the support can go pretty deep depending on what your resources are, but there's a lot of ways to make that relationship so much stronger, and you don't see that a lot. You just don't.
Well, I mean, Duncan said it, just pick up the phone, right?
Right.
If you pick up the phone, call them, and when they call you, answer the phone, and I think that'll help you build your relationship. Look, I've been thinking about Duncan a lot. I'm going to call Duncan. He does something with social media, I believe, right? So I want to learn more about that. And then besides that, Jeff, now that I have your number on my phone, be careful. I just call randomly people. I called one of my clients at 8:00 last night, but they asked me to call, by the way.
They must love that.
We've got a couple more pieces of business to do before we go and get to the bottom line. We're going to release where the Society of Dogs Go to Howl. I don't even know where the Dogs of Society Go to Howl newsletter tomorrow afternoon. It'll be about this a little bit more, basically what we spoke about here, but it's a great thing to use if you run out of toilet paper. You can always print it off and use that.
Can I get a copy of it?
Yeah, I'll send you. I'm going to send it in the mail to you. Okay. But if you haven't subscribed, subscribe, my friends, and share it with people you know and love or dislike. So there's that. And then, of course, I want to get, before we go to the sort of the bottom line of what we talked about today, I'm going to give you all one more chance to guess what the lyrics were when I posted about this show. And I'll read again at you. It was go for the throat, never let loose, going in for the kill. It was a promo about this very here LinkedIn Live. If anybody here can drop a comment, tell me the name of the song and the band that performed it, we will give you nothing. We will send you an empty container. All right.
Can we get the hat, the Brandartica hat?
I have two hats, Brandartica hats, and one I've worn to death. And the other one my wife gave to a friend of ours. And I was like, why would you do that? So if I can get it back from her, I'll send you the hat. Jeff, you have any extra hats laying around? How about one of them fancy pens you got?
I'm not giving those away.
You're not giving those away? All right.
No,
I'll tell you what, if anybody gets it, I will create an outgoing voicemail for your either work phone or your
So I got to tell my story while you're waiting for people to come across the line. So
Okay.
I was out in the wild, I like to call it, and I was walking my dog. And I've told you this story, but I'm going to tell everybody here.
Okay.
Is I walked past a lemonade stand and I said no. Second, later on after I was walking my dog again, I proceeded to put my headphones in, and I was walking by the lemonade stand, and I said no again. But you know what she did? She pulled out a little baggie.
Mm.
In that little baggie, she proceeded to pull out a dog treat. So I immediately pulled my earphones out and I said, "What is that?" She goes, "It's a dog treat." I said, "How much?" She said, "It's free." So the lesson is as you're trying to figure out the answer to Peter's question, they're going to give you something for free. They're going to give you a reward. I don't know what it is. It's either a hat or it's a pen or something.
I don't know what it is.
Committed to do something. But here's the lesson of the story: is never walk past a lemonade stand.
That's right.
Without buying.
I would say you got lucky. She could have slid a sharpened toothbrush in between your ribs and ended it for you right there. You know, saying no to a kid at a lemonade.
I love lemonade stands.
You know, so while people are still
there's still a lot of talk about the pocket protector. Maybe we should make them.
I know.
Maybe we should make the Brandartica pocket protector.
Brandartica pocket protector.
I'd actually wear it. That's hard to say, actually.
It is.
Was there any closing thoughts?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to get at. Bottom lines, closing thoughts from either of you. I've got my own here, but we'll wait. Let's hear from you, Sam and Jeff.
My message is, first of all, thank you for the opportunity to be part of this. I would love to come back if you'll have me, if I didn't scare you off.
Always.
Yeah. So if this is the code, I'm just going to sign in, and you both are always welcome to come in.
Oh, thank you.
Drink up. We love you anytime, and we certainly appreciate when you're chatting in the audience. And Peter, when you came in that one time, I think it was with St. Spritz, with Mallory Patton, and it was just so powerful. By the way, to have a Disney, executive come on and
you're stretching it a bit there.
But I would just tell you this: is don't overcomplicate it. Keep it simple. For sales is, and I'll quote Courtney in closing: is can the distributor repeat your message? You can take it to the bank every time. So whatever you develop, make sure it's repeatable. Make sure it's memorable. And then if it's repeatable and memorable, people will do something with it, and you'll probably sell some stuff.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's right.
I would only add, I always like to add this at the end. I just hit my microphone. But Peter and I are always accessible. You can DM us, and we'll actually answer you back. It's amazing. And if you have a call with us, it's not about a sales pitch. It's about to get to know you. And if you have questions, we'll try to answer them for you. Yeah. That's just the way it is.
I had someone from LinkedIn that I barely know. They were scratching at the screen on our bedroom last week.
Oh yeah,
trying to get a question into me.
Salem's Lot style.
I told him, I said, come back when it's light out, and get off my roof, for God's sake. I think my bottom line for this conversation about getting ready to sell like hell is for founders and owners and presidents and whatnot. The bottom line here is you don't get distribution. As the old commercial said, you earn it. You earn it. You don't get distribution, you earn it. So you earn it with a retail ready brand. You earn it with a story worth repeating. You earn it with visuals that stop the scroll and stun the buyer into submission, and tools that your sales team actually can use. Make it easier for your retailers to say yes, and even easier for the team that works with you to keep on a winning streak. Okay. That's it. I mean, did anybody ever get the thing?
I don't know.
Andrew said this was a fruitful conversation, and frankly, I don't know
Thank you, Andrew.
I don't know how to take it. Oh, okay. Fruitful in a good way.
Yeah,
that's good.
I always learn from these conversations.
Thanks, Andrew.
If I wasn't tied up in a conversation, I would have been ChatGPT, and I would have had the answer like in 5 seconds. So come on.
Yeah. All right. So I'm just gonna, nobody's getting the voice menu from me. It's either that or I was gonna do. I did it for you, Sam, didn't I? You won something from me last time, and it was a call in the dead of the night. I called your cell phone.
I think it was like 3 a.m. Yeah.
3 a.m.
Yeah. Hey, you can call me anytime.
Oh God, I'm stunned. I'm just gonna get started now.
It sounds like a Blondie song.
All right, so here's your nobody got it, nobody got it, nobody got it. If you did get it, I'm sorry, you're too late. So the lyrics were from the song Live Wire from the debut single. It was the debut single by Motley Crue, and it was released on their 1981 debut album, Too Fast for Love. The single was released on August 16th, 1982. And of course, there's lots more to that story.
I'm going to do some Motley Crue on my dog walk this afternoon.
Dude, I grew up on that stuff.
Of
course, they went around the bend at some point. Don't know what happened, but God love them.
Yeah.
So that's it. Anything else, guys? Should we get out of here?
Yeah. Thank you. I have to run. Thanks for the opportunity. I'll follow up with you, Jeff and Peter.
Absolutely.
Down the line, but this was great. I love being part of this great podcast. Thank you.
Awesome,
thanks,
brother.
man. We love having you.
Great day. Thanks, everybody, for coming on in. We appreciate you, and we will catch you later.